Xin chào, JH Medium here, and today we are in Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. Since we're staying in the Tan Dinh area, our first stop in Saigon is the Tan Dinh Church, the pink church. This church actually wasn't pink to begin with, it was just white. And then in 1957, they decided to paint it pink. The interior of this church is also pink, but unfortunately we're not allowed to enter. Only Catholics are allowed to go in for mass events right now. This is the second biggest church in Saigon after the Notre Dame. But since the Notre Dame is under construction until who knows when, for our purposes, this is the biggest church.
Apparently this church will be even more beautiful when all the decorations light up at night. So let's come back in the evening.
For lunch day, we made it to a pho shop. We ordered a combination pho since we don't know what to get. And this is actually the first time I've seen Vietnamese pho with a thicker, wider pho noodles. Let's try. I love the strong basil taste, and I think I actually prefer this wider type of pho.
But while most of the pho and meat were great, I think there are too many organs in the combination. I'd prefer if it was mainly brisket and fatty beef. Either way, still a good meal to start our day. Now it's time to go cafe hunting.
Vietnamese people love their coffee, and there's so many cute coffee shops in Saigon. Many of them are hidden inside these old residential buildings, and they're really hard to find. So today, we're gonna see if we can find one of them. The place we're going to is somewhere here. I think this is the entrance. No, I don't think it's in there. I think we found the cafe. It's literally in here, which is next to someone else's house. It took us quite a while to find it, but we actually found the cafe. This cafe is called Things Living Room, and it's really like entering someone's personal library.
很像别人来请你去他家里做客一样，很神奇。有很多这样的小咖啡厅都在这一栋楼里面。
We're both not big coffee drinkers, so I got a chocolate and Rika got a matcha. I don't even want to speak too loudly because everyone is just quietly doing their own thing. There's so many vintage decorations in here. I highly recommend checking out this cafe building. You can pretty much go to any of the cafes in this building and they're all going to be super cute. We chilled at the cafe for a few hours. This building is really old and worn down, but everything inside seems really welcoming. It kind of reminds me of Tianzifang in Shanghai, if you know that place. But anyways, all of that was inside this building. Pretty crazy. We made it to the Saigon Central Post Office. Over there in front of me is the Notre Dame Saigon under construction.
如果你没有见过维修之后的巴黎圣母院，也可以来看看这里，它们两个真的非常的相似。
Right now we're gonna go inside the post office. Rika and I both really like sending postcards, so maybe we'll find some interesting ones in there. But I think actually it's just a giant souvenir shop now. This post office is stunning. It looks like a giant train station. And of course, we have a picture of Mr. Ho Chi Minh in the middle. Yeah, there are a lot of stalls that do sell postcards, but I think they're a little bit too vintage for my liking. A lot of old photographs, a lot of postcards on these old paper. I think we might go and find some more modern, artistic looking postcards later. The The sun is setting and we've made it to the old city hall built during the French colonial period. And now it's the People's Committee of Ho Chi Minh City. If you just look at it from the top half, it really looks like a European building and it really looks like we're in Europe. And then you just pan the camera down and suddenly with all the motorcycles, we're undoubtedly in Vietnam. Good morning from Ho Chi Minh City, and for breakfast today we are gonna have banh mi. This is actually the banh mi shop that got featured in Netflix's Street Food. We didn't specifically come looking for this banh mi shop. We just searched which banh mi shop is near our hotel area, and this was the first one that popped up. So let's try this Netflix famous banh mi and see if it's any good. We got a pork banh mi. Banh mi cheers. Ding. Of course, the bread is super crispy. I think there's some Vietnamese sausage, there's some pork, there's also some chili peppers inside. I just bit into one and I wasn't expecting it. So there's a touch of spiciness.
很多人就是骑摩托车经过这条路上的时候，顺手带走一个banh mi吃。我们现在坐在路边吃，也可以听到这个背景有很多的摩托车呼啸而过的声音。越南的banh mi，它用的这种面包好像是比法国的 baguette 会稍微的短一点点，但是它们都是一样的，很酥脆，很好吃。
One thing super challenging in Ho Chi Minh City is crossing the street. On this crosswalk, there are no traffic lights at all, and there's motorcycles coming by at every single moment. I don't even know when I should cross the street. But apparently, you're supposed to just walk by and hope that the motorcycles will slow down for you. So let's test this theory out, even though it's probably some terrible advice.
After that successful but terrifying experience, we went back to the hotel to rest for a while. And in the afternoon, went back out again to see more of Saigon.
Of course, here in Saigon, we have to visit the War Remnants Museum. Obviously, I'm not an expert about this. There's so much content here in the museum and on the internet about the Vietnam War. It's definitely important to come here and see for yourself a very important part of Vietnam's history. To be honest, I was never too familiar with the history of the Vietnam War. Of course, you learn about it in history books, and there are many American movies about it, such as Apocalypse Now and recently The Five Bloods. But seeing all of this in person just gives a whole new perspective about the terrors of war. The images in the museum were absolutely horrifying. It's not for the faint of heart, but I think if you come to Saigon, you still have to come visit this place. I'm honestly really stunned by the size of these things. It's definitely really wild looking at these tanks and helicopters up close. It's hard to imagine that there are thousands of these in Vietnam not that long ago.
After the very serious history lesson, we gotta find something to lighten the mood again. And there's no better way to do that than to have some hot pot. We're at Hai Di Lao in Vincom Center. Why are we having Chinese hot pot in Vietnam? Well, the Hai Di Lao here is probably the cheapest in the whole world, so why not?
This is actually my first time having Hai Di Lao outside of China, and it's just as good. So anywhere in the world, if you want some good hot pot, Hai Di Lao is a great option.
When traveling southern Vietnam, it's great to use Ho Chi Minh City as a base to explore other nearby destinations. Today we're traveling north to visit a place you wouldn't believe is in Vietnam. No, we are not in a giant desert. Today, we are in Mui Ne.
Good morning from inside a sleeper bus. Today we're taking a 3-hour bus ride to Mui Ne. I did not expect it to be on one of these sleeper buses, but it's quite a nice experience. I'm gonna see if I can lie down.
After arriving at Mui Ne, we switched to a 4x4 and went on to our first destination, the ferry stream. To be very honest, there's nothing fairy about the ferry stream itself.
I wore long pants today to block out the sun. If I knew I was gonna be trekking in a stream, I probably wouldn't have.
But the sand is very soft and quite comfortable to walk on. After a 10-minute trek, we reached the highlight of the stream, these red sand and rock formations. It kinda looks like we're on Mars. Mui Ne is a beautiful coastal fishing town just a little west of Phan Thiet. On our way to the main attraction of the day, we stopped by the beach for a short photo break. As we reach the famous white sand dunes, the adventure really begins. You can choose to ride an ATV or the back of a truck up the dunes, but it's a little overpriced, so we're gonna walk our way up. Even though walking in the sand is very difficult, I think it's worth it. We can go to areas outside of the ATV routes with no tourists at all. It's like we have the dunes to ourselves.
After a 3-hour bus ride, we are back in Saigon. We didn't really have anything to eat today except for some banh mi. So now we're gonna have some broken rice for dinner. I'm so hungry. And actually, this looks really delicious. I just love that we just sit next to the street in this tiny alleyway having some delicious looking food.
Just look at this perfectly grilled caramelized pork. It's juicy, tender, with just a bit of crispiness on the caramelized edges. Broken rice is a must-have food in Saigon. We loved this one so much that we just had to try another plate for lunch the next day.
Arguably one of Saigon's most famous dishes is broken rice. If you look at the rice grains, you'll notice they're like a half of the size of a normal rice grain, hence the name broken rice.
In the past, farmers cooked broken rice because these grains were not good enough to sell. There's nothing particularly wrong with the rice other than the grain looking visually broken, so it's still perfectly fine to eat. Today, this dish is a huge part of the culture here in Saigon. Tam broken rice is typically served with a fried egg, a protein such as lemongrass pork chops, scallion oil garnish, pickled cucumbers, as well as fish sauce for seasoning. The The rice itself doesn't taste any different from non-broken rice, but the fish sauce and the egg yolk transforms it into this creamy umami bite of goodness. The pork chop is perfectly grilled too. But I'd say the best part of this spoon is the rice itself mixed with the flavors from all the side dishes.
To continue our cafe tour of Saigon, we're at the Nguyen Hoi walking street at 42 Nguyen Hoi, also known as the Cafe Apartments. Today we're gonna go up the Cafe Apartment and see which cute coffee shop we can find. Apparently you have to pay to take the elevator, but it's not that high up, so we're gonna walk it. It looks like we found our cafe. We're on the 5th floor at this cafe called Saigon We. All of these cafes have balconies facing onto Nguyen Hoi Walking Street, but it's way too hot in this Ho Chi Minh daytime. The sun directly shines in this direction. I mean, it could feel pretty good if the temperature is a bit lower, so I think I'm gonna go back inside.
The Nguyen Hoi Street becomes very lively, with street performers, music, and just people coming outside to hang out. On the way back to our hotel in Tandin, we stopped by the church to check out its beautiful lights at night. During the festive season, Tandin Church really looks spectacular.
Good morning again from Saigon, but today we're actually not going to explore the city.
We're gonna take a must-do day trip to the Mekong Delta.
It seems like these Mekong Delta trips are pretty standardized. We looked up different tour companies and they're all doing exactly the same tour.
Our first stop on this tour is the Vinh Tram Pagoda.
It's really interesting that Buddhism in Vietnam is actually mainly Mahayana, which is the type of Buddhism that's practiced in East Asia. Its neighboring countries such as Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, they're all practicing Theravada Buddhism. So the temples and pagodas here are more similar to the ones you would see in China. We are at the riverside and we're finally going to go on the boat. In Vietnam, the Mekong is also known as the Nine Dragons River because before the Mekong flows into the South China Sea, it breaks apart into different little streams, rivers, and waterways. So if you look at a satellite map, it looks like there's 9 dragons flowing in the Mekong Delta.
Now we're on the island of Toi Sun, right in the middle of the Mekong. We're heading to a village to watch a local folk music performance.
After that performance and some fruits, we are walking over to a bee farm on the island. This is a jackfruit growing on a tree. I've never seen it like this before.
We're here at the bee farm and I think we're gonna try their honey.
Our bee have only one task, mating with bee. After mating, they're gonna die immediately.
Now we're gonna try the honey mixed with some tea and lime.
This honey drink is really smooth. Supposedly it has some healing properties too. Now it's time for lunch. We got on another small boat heading into the jungle.
Okay, so we just finished lunch. It was okay, acceptable. We've definitely had a lot worse on these big group tours. So now, I don't know where we're going. We're just chilling here. I'm gonna rest on the hammock for a while. This seems like a village instead of just a restaurant. Now we're finally on the activity I'm looking forward to the most. We're here on this rowboat and we're gonna go through the river, through this tree tunnel type of thing. And they also gave us these Vietnamese grass hats to block out the sun. That was definitely a pretty fun ride. It's like the Jungle Cruise except in real life. And the trees are actually arching down, so at some point of the ride it looks like we're going through a water tunnel.
幸亏他们说这里没有鳄鱼。
For our final stop on the tour, we hopped on a tuk-tuk and we're gonna go to a coconut candy factory. It turns out it's not really a factory, more like a small workshop. But it's still cool to see the process of making one of my favorite cooking ingredients, coconut milk. It must be so labor intensive back then when this was all done by hand.
Gonna try the coconut candy that just got made.
新鲜的是软的，我们之前吃的都是硬的。
Very chewy. It's actually not that sweet.
Before we leave the island, there is one last local delicacy to try. And this one is not for the faint of heart.
Now we're gonna try the snake alcohol. It smells like a strong whiskey type of thing.
I just try a little bit. 喝起来其实并不奇怪，就像正常的酒一样。
You just feel that heat going down your throat, but it tastes just like whiskey actually.
Okay, I probably won't be doing that again anytime soon. Gotta wash it all down with some coconut juice. And now, back to Saigon.
We just finished our trip to the Mekong Delta. Honestly, my favorite parts were all the rides, the boat ride, the tuk-tuk ride. The other places like the bee farm and the coconut factory, I think were mainly just places to support local businesses. I don't think it's particularly interesting. Anyways, we are back in Saigon, back in Ho Chi Minh City, and we're gonna have some pho for dinner. We are not beef experts. Luckily, there's a poster on the wall telling you which cut corresponds to which part of the cow to help us choose what part we should order. We got a brisket and a flank. I really like basil, so we're gonna put a lot of basil inside. I can eat basil like vegetables. I ordered the pho with the nam beef, which is the flank part of the cow. Super tender. I think this is the best pho we had in Saigon so far.
It just feels so great to have a soothing, healing bowl of pho after a day of travel.
汤不错，好汤就是好pho。
So yeah, pho phu vuong, it's actually pretty good. I highly recommend coming here. After a very long taxi ride thanks to Saigon's traffic, we're here to have dessert. This is something called Che. It's like this jelly, cheese, tofu type of thing. We had it in Hanoi and we loved it, but we're still not quite sure exactly what it is. I got a strawberry flavor and Rika got a green tea flavor. So let's try this. Try the strawberry che with lychee. It really just has the texture of a jelly with a little bit of that strawberry flavor inside. It's so good. If you're Vietnamese and know exactly what this is, please tell me in the comments below.
非常适合这里30多度的天气。
Good morning from the Saigon Central Post Office. Rika had to go home to attend her friend's wedding. She's gonna be the bridesmaid. So I guess now I'm solo traveling. Today I'm gonna surprise her with a postcard. Hopefully this will arrive before the next time we meet.
For my last afternoon in Saigon, I'm back at the cafe apartment to enjoy a nice cup of coffee before saying goodbye to this city. Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City is a loud and hectic place. Its motorcycles, commotion, and chaotic streets can be sometimes a bit too much to handle, but this city still has that simple, busy charm to it. Its hidden cafes, mouth-watering street food, and historical buildings also give it a relaxing and elegant side. And if you ever want some serenity away from the bustling center, there are plenty of day trips available to see a totally different side of Vietnam. But we must never forget that this region also faced a dark history not that long ago, which adds another layer of complexity to Vietnam's largest city.
And this concludes our trip here in the southern part of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Mekong Delta, and Mui Ne. Next up, we're going to go to the mountain city of Dalat. So if you're enjoying this Vietnam series, be sure to subscribe to JH Medium for more adventures coming soon. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.